delighted to have them with us, John and Peter, now for, I guess it's almost 4 years, because I think I met you before we put the grant in. I'm actually a co-PI on their grant that focuses on mobile app development, but my focus is not specifically mobile app. It's more on the business and industry leadership team model for engaging folks in their work and guiding their work. We're delighted to have them here today, or here this week, teaching. John is an experienced professor and program coordinator, has a demonstrated history of working with higher ed, over 20 years. He has a lot of media and communications background in terms of graphics, user experience, WordPress, user interface design, mobile design, etc. He is the lead faculty expert for the visual design and imaging curriculum at Columbus State College in Columbus, Ohio. And he is on the area board for the Ohio Board of Regents since 2011. He is also a freelancer and a consultant for lots of companies over the past decade in web marketing and media related projects. I didn't know all of this, John, so we may have other things we want you to do for the CTC. So that's pretty exciting. And Pete is an associate professor of computer science and coordinator for the game developer track. He says he was bitten by the computer graphics bug while he was an undergrad at Ohio State, and he joined the company Cranston CSURI Productions in 1983 and was an animator and developed software to extend the capabilities of the animation staff. That's really cool. It still fascinates me how Disney did some of that in the early days. Very, very cool. He's held positions at the Ohio Supercomputer Center and the Advanced Computing Center for Art and Design at OSU. And OSU is not Oklahoma State, it's Ohio State. He focused on scientific data visualization, was a member of programmers to create the application called AP_E, which is Animation Production Environment. And it was an early application of the Ohio supercomputer researchers and what they could do to visualize simulations such as tornadoes, colliding galaxies, just little stuff, very cool things, and heat flow in commercial kitchens. We are very excited to have both of these professors with us this week teaching their track, but they're also going to share information about what they're involved with in this presentation. John and Pete, take it away.
Great introduction. We are dealing with the hybrid app development using React Native session here at Working Connections. We are also dealing with just connectivity problems here in my new mobile device lab, so we're learning about that. We were going to get into detail about the hybrid app development session, but decided to switch gears a little and talk a little more about the challenges of bringing the two hybrid app degree programs together here at Columbus State. Pete and I sort of come from obviously two different departments, but we share some of the same vision. And I think what I wanted to do was sort of help from the faculty perspective of really some of the things that we deal with or we're still dealing with at Columbus State, but in a good way, not complaining about these challenges. But for us, just like in technology, it's being able to overcome these challenges. So Pete and I wanted to give you sort of a brief overview of sort of how we came to deal with these two mobile app degree programs, which is pretty difficult in two different degree programs and or two different departments. And I think that's some of the things that we had to overcome. So I wanted to give a brief overview of where it all began. This mobile app degree program wasn't just a fly-by-night. We've been trying to push for these programs, two degree programs, for almost since 2014. And part of our vision was to have a web app, a native classes, as well as a hybrid app development. But we knew, obviously, the current track, the hybrid app development using React Native was such a hot topic. That's sort of what we wanted to start with. But we touch on all three of them in our degree programs. Sort of the subtitle is two different paths lead into one or two different degree programs. So Pete and I, obviously, we've worked together, but not necessarily having the same vision until we realized that, hey, you know, we sort of have a like-minded direction. So I'm going to give sort of Peter the wheel to sort of talk about where he started from and how he was dealing with his mobile app development thought process, because I really wasn't involved in that until all of a sudden we realized we were going to work together. Pete?
Okay, I'll go ahead and mute my mic. Good afternoon, everyone, and I'll go ahead and turn on my video, and I feel sorry for you all. I don't know, oh, there I am. About 2014, a professor in the computer science department and myself have been talking about how we should, how the computer science department could update and upgrade its curriculum. And we had we led an advisory committee. And one of the important items to come back from that advisory committee is the people in business wanted to have mobile apps represented in computer science. So Jorge Vallejos and myself set about saying, well, what would make a suitable curriculum? And we both were of like mind that the students have the best experience by doing projects, not just learning little items about programming languages and going through the finger exercises that might happen in some classes. So we wanted to bring up, and we had gone to many boot camps and other kinds of symposiums on mobile apps, and at that time, and we came up with a plan, and we were fortunate enough to find two wonderful developers, Arthur Newman and Matthew Sheets, who signed on with us, and they took the lead on developing 4 courses, two for Android and 2 for iOS. Matt Sheets was the iOS developer, Arthur Newman was the Android developer, and we set about to designing 2 classes in each track, or each of the Android and iOS track. The first class being a study in the specific programming language, that Java for Android and Swift, the brand new language at that time, for iOS. And then to have a second course in which they would work on projects where they would develop more complex mobile applications that would be developed on the native device. So that's where I came from, and Jorge has since retired, but that was a wonderful time back then when we were trying to find our legs and get something going. So I'll turn it back over to John.
Perfect. So one of the first challenges we had to deal with, I didn't know any of this was happening. I knew of it when Pete was talking with these other faculty, but again, different departments. I'm in art, media, and design. We are in the same building, but things were going on that I didn't realize. But one of the first challenges was getting the grant. Now, it's ironic because we began talking about this in 2014, and slowly it was, hey, why does the computer science and art, media, and design department work together? After 3 submissions, and I'd like to give a shout out to Ann Behavior for it. I think she was instrumental in assisting us in getting it. I also have to talk about the relationship that our director, Shane Kirby, and Ann have, and I'm very thankful for it. So definitely getting the grant and being, I guess, persistent in making sure that that we kept trying. I'll talk about the grants department here in a second, but I think half the battle of all faculty is making sure that you have good support from your chairpersons. And I think both Pete and myself did. I'll be honest to you. Part of the challenge of faculty is having vision, but then having administration support you. And the other part that I can say is faculty can feel like they live on an island sometimes. You're passionate about it. You have a vision, but that doesn't necessarily mean the uppers have the same thing. So again, after 3 submissions, and it was approved in 2017, we were ecstatic to begin, and didn't realize it was going to go deeper, and with more challenges, I guess. Pete, you have anything you want to say with getting the grant? Okay. So challenge number 2 is always when faculty have an idea that they want to get across, they have to deal with multiple areas. And I'm talking about staff and upper administration. Now, our challenge, at least at Columbus State, was even though faculty are here for a while, and I'm not saying all faculty, but Pete and I have combined years here of about 35 years at Columbus State. Our problem was we had chairs move on, we had deans move on, we had 2 new vice presidents, we had different staff, and we have a grants office with a lot of turnover, which equal lots of changes over the years. Why is that difficult? Just because you're selling it to one group of people, deans or vice presidents, you have to continually resell your concepts and resell your ideas. I think that was difficult before the grant, and it was equally difficult after the grant, because it seems as though they're not really involved, or they just don't have the vision that you do. I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. I'm just saying, in our instance, Pete was working from his angle, I was working from my angle, and we have 2 different chairs. We did have the same dean at that point, but it was one of those things that they kept asking, so what are you doing with this mobile app stuff? So what's your direction? What are you thinking? And so that was definitely a challenge that we had to overcome, but it's something we're still in the progress of dealing with. Again, I'm one of those people, I'd always like to say, what is your challenge? And then how did you solve the problem? Unfortunately, we're still in progress of selling it, but proud to say that I think we're moving forward with their understanding and their support. So I'm going to have Pete talk about the challenge number 3, which was really this approval process of the 2 degrees. Now, I'm sure every college has an internal process of degrees, but we really didn't realize what a cluster mess it is. And that's a nice way of saying, even though, again, your vision seems solid, that other people had to really see what you're doing. And I understand paperwork, but boy, it gets pretty messy from there. I'm going to give Pete a chance to talk, and I'm going to go on mute.
Okay, yes. As John pointed out, the process of going through and accomplishing all the administrative hurdles of that steeplechase of getting a program approved is quite daunting to me. At points we were trying to make changes to either the academic program or individual classes, and they would go up through committees internally in our college and reach a certain point, and then someone would make a comment, and then they would have to come back down, and it was all like this organized through this central process that got quite congested, and it would be just a terribly long time to get things implemented. So there could be improvements there, but I realize, I understand the need to be very careful about checking to make sure that academic programs are implemented with a certain validity to them. So, but we eventually got through that, and now we're looking to launch our program in the spring of 21, which is quite a bit later, because it did, like I said, we actually were able to teach some of our courses. We had like 4 courses, as I said before, 2 in Android, 2 in iOS, and we were able to teach those courses in a test environment. We would provide them to students that we did not have any degrees associated with them. And so we got low turnout, but it wasn't. We had enough students sign up for these courses that gave us a chance to really shake out the courses, as so to speak, and get them, improve on the course content. I was very thankful for that, because that showed us a lot of the things that we could do to improve the courses. But still, we still had a lot of not technical difficulties, but I should say just things that we did not see, that paperwork that we did not implement, that we needed to implement. And so there was this constantly going up the ladder and down the ladder, trying to get these changes approved. So it can be time consuming, but you have to be dogged, you have to be persistent, and be, especially as John said, when you're passionate about getting curriculum installed in your relative departments, it's important to be very, very dogged about it. John?
Perfect, thanks, Pete. Our next challenge was dealing with the money and what the grant gave us. We didn't realize what there were stipulations on the grant, what it can and can't pay for. Now, again, I'm not complaining about this. It's just from a faculty perspective, I didn't realize that. Part of our deliverables was the mobile device lab that is going to help support the 2 mobile degrees. And it's a dedicated lab that helps with user experience and group settings, collaboration, and I'm pretty proud of it. It cost around $100,000 plus for the mostly the hardware involved, but it came with a lot of approvals. And the other challenge that came with the grant is the money given is you can't overspend and you can't underspend. So we're learning about that, especially from a faculty perspective and technology that we want to share that balance of figuring out the money. We were lucky that the internal college actually stepped up to help pay for the mobile device lab of the internal stuff that the grant would not pay for. I'm talking about lighting or power issues or Wi-Fi connectivity. So we're very lucky that we got that. But the money is definitely something that we had to focus on a little bit more. The 5th challenge was the time frame. Pete talked about, again, we got the grant in 2017. We started dealing with the approval processes of our degrees in early 2018. I know with the virus hit and everything, but it's been almost 2 years for us trying to get it through our Ohio Department of OBOR and HLC. It's the Higher Learning Commission and Ohio Board of Regents. So we're still working with that. And I said, with 3 years at a good head start, how hard could this be with trying to get 2-degree programs, complete the deliverables. Well, guess what? We had to ask for an extension in 1 more year so we can get the degree in the books, start getting students, and start having University of Cincinnati evaluate what we're doing. So again, still learning with that challenge, but it's a time frame that it's never moves quick enough for me. Challenge number 6 is definitely having a good core team. Pete and I have been working together, like we said, for almost a decade. So our core team is 2 full-time faculty. I called them 2 subject matter experts. Both are adjuncts, and that's Matt Sheets and Zach Dizakowski, and definitely a good built team. Now, again, Ann was instrumental in having our business and industry leadership team involved, and we're working hard to get them more involved in making sure that we have 2 good degree programs. Again, the core team has to be faculty driven and industry involved, and we're making sure that we have the right stuff teaching at the right time. Technology is difficult, and we want to make sure that it's up to date. The number 7 challenge I'm going to have Pete talk about, because we're both fighting this. Once we get the degree programs approved, now we have to find the soldiers to be able to teach it and the adjunct faculty to support. So I'll give Pete the mic because he's definitely dealing with this at this point.
Yeah, I think that in the beginning, it was easy to find people that were excited about a new program in mobile apps, especially from the computer science side. But as John said, as time goes by, these people, you can't keep those people enlisted and interested if a period of time goes by. And that's what I've experienced. I had individuals that were very proactive on this program, and of course, when you're dealing with Android and with iOS, you're dealing with platforms that are very difficult, and definitely you need to do a lot of searching to find people that are able to teach in this area. So I think that keeping, I'm fortunate in that I have adjuncts that are very qualified, and I'm hoping that as the time has gone by, that especially in iOS, the people qualified in iOS and using the Swift programming language are very difficult to find. But I'm optimistic that as time has gone by, that more people have experienced Swift, and I will be able to recruit more individuals to teach as adjuncts here at Columbus State. It's very nice to have people that are developers, that are in the field, and to be able to come into the classroom and teach these students what is needed in the working environment. So it's something to keep in mind, that it all depends on your local environment. If you do have people there that are, I'm very fortunate. We're very, very fortunate. In Columbus, we have a very active meetup groups. There's a lot of communication between developers, and they hear things from other developers. And so we can get the word out very easily. So we're very lucky here in Central Ohio to have such an active technical core and technical population. So I think that's about all I could say.
So the last challenge that I think is important is I talked about the turnover in faculty that we've seen here at Columbus State, because we have anywhere between 20 and 30 grants that our school is involved with. And we've seen other departments with faculty come and go. So I thought it was important to be able to see it all the way through, from concept to working to fruition, to see students in it and learning from it. So that's a challenge that luckily Pete and I, Columbus State stuck with us. So whether they know it or not, we're gonna make sure that we see both of these degree programs hopefully flourish. The other challenge I forgot is working with other schools. So at this point, once we have the degree programs approved, we're dealing with both high schools in 4 years and 4-year colleges, and getting them to see sort of where the middle part of the Oreo of what do the high school students need to get into our program, and what do my students and our students need to get to the 4-year. So obviously they need to, we need to be thinking behind us and in front of us, and definitely getting people to be like-minded and with the same passion. And I think that's critical. We definitely want to share what we've done over the last 3-4 years. I've included both Pete's and my email. We'd be happy to share curriculum. We'd be happy to share any materials that we have. If you'd be interested in knowing some of the content of the syllabus of the courses, we'd be happy to do that as well. But Pete, do you have anything more?
I think that what I was, and on the previous slide, John showed that they're getting the high schools involved in this curriculum. I'm especially focused on that because I've been fortunate. Again, we have a program here in Central Ohio where college credit is taught in the high school by high school instructors. And I have a couple of courses of mine that are taught by those high school teachers. And they are very technically, have a lot of technically achievements. They are very good teachers, and it's really nice to see students coming out of their classroom and hopefully coming to Columbus State, but certainly getting out of the high school and going in with this enjoyment and appreciation of, for the courses that were taken in the high school that they get college credit for. And hopefully we have the professor, or I should say instructors in the high school that will take on the mobile applications as well. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that high school contact.
Thanks, Pete. I think we're about out of time. Unfortunately, I don't know how much time we have for questions, but that's what we have for the challenges that we've dealt with the 2 mobile app degree programs. Again, you can send both Pete or myself an email, and we can go from there.
Thank you, John and Pete. This is Ann. I was just going to confirm that you all have faced lots of challenges, and you've just kept keeping on. And interestingly enough, you can get a grant, but the college cycle in terms of timeline does not necessarily align with the grant. So they are lucky in a lot of ways that they're able to extend for another year. And I think they've done a good job of putting it all together. I think we have room for a couple of questions, don't we? There is a question, Pete. Is your email Pete Carwell or Pete Carswell?
Carswell. Just one L though.
Okay, it's got an S, but just one L. Cindy, thanks for asking. Anything else that we have questions? Oh, the job market for mobile apps in your area. What do you know in terms of the job market in your local area, John or Pete?
It's absolutely incredibly booming. We know this because of Zach Wizakowski.
Oh.
So we're in concert of making sure that he's on mute when I'm actually talking. So we have sort of some feedback. All right, so Zach has been telling us whether it's native app developers or hybrid app developers, we have a lot of startup companies here in Columbus, Ohio. And they can't find enough of them. So I'd like to bring about the built team and add more people, just because it's been a length of time to get sort of the energy built back up into our degree programs. So I don't have any exact stats at this point, but I know we're getting a lot of calls for, hey, when are you going to start pumping out some of those mobile app dev and design people?
Yeah, one comment I'm going to make about a built team is built teams need to really meet frequently, and that's been an issue for Columbus State. I'm still on their grant for one more year, and my focus is to get that built team basically engaged, because the built team is a process or a group that we put together all the processes for that, and we've been using it for 16 years. And I have to tell you, when you have totally engaged business and industry team leads that co-lead your work, you get a lot of benefit from them. So it's really good. A question from Matthew Cloud: do you have a set of curriculum ready to go and negotiated to an industry panel? They've been looking at Unity, Xamarin, and React. How did you end up with React?
Well, first we had to sort of get around my Adobe PhoneGap. So PhoneGap was our first stop with hybrid app development. And
Okay.
then Zach Dizikowski, the person that was teaching it, decided, hey, this really isn't industry standard, so why don't we jump on to React Native? And I can't get deep into the thought process, but I think that's really what it was, that it was more robust, it was better, more industry used, and Zach feels strongly about it, so we decided to go with that instead of Xamarin or PhoneGap or Ionic or any of the others.
Okay, and one last question. Do you have or perceive internships with your built company members?
We are working on it. Our capstone class, which is at the end of both of our degree programs, are going to be using pseudo internships to be able to get built members interested in I don't want to say cherry picking some of the best, but that's part of the game there, of businesses getting involved and our students being able to build the apps for business. Pete's going to talk.
Yeah, I think that what's nice about our program, and this is Henry Bowden, another professor in game development design, and I put together our capstone classes such that they combine both disciplines in the same room, and they basically operated like their own company. They designed their own game, they designed their own, they programmed it, and they used the Unity game engine. And so basically they were autonomous, and they had this experience of doing this team development. And we're doing the same thing with the mobile apps. John and I are going to bring our programming students together and the design students into the same room, and we'll throw them together like you would in business, and see what they can accomplish in a team environment.